The next topic we want to get into is digital boundaries. And like I said, this helps kind of piggyback off of Marvel Rivals. So a lot of the things I say here and a lot of things I said in the Marvel Rivals one will kind of overlap, right? But at the same time, I think it is important to think about digital boundaries, specifically for gaming, but also just for screen time in general, right? And this goes for your kids, but also kind of for you. Because remember, you're the example your kids learn from, and this is something I'm learning the hard way. This day and age, there's a lot of news and a lot of different things to look at on your phone. And I think that most of us are pretty guilty of just grabbing your phone and doom scrolling, essentially, wasting more time on there than we should. And that's something that I think I used to do more and more wasting of screen time, more wasting of my time on screens ever since my tumor I had to get removed, which once again, if you don't know about it, I don't want to get into too much, but there is a video on the page, very, very long video that gets into my story about what happened. But it does mean I struggle a lot. I have a lot of trouble looking at games, and honestly, I can't play games as well or as long. I can't look at my screens on my phone as long and stuff, and it's given me some perspective that even I need to make sure I'm like almost setting limits because I'll wear my eyes out. So I have limits on my Facebook daily and things like that, like an actual physical limit. Um, and so it's putting things like that in perspective. I've always played games a lot. I've always had too much screen time in my life. Ever since I met my current wife, I've had a lot less of that because I'm just enjoying life more. And even though games can be a lot of fun, I need less of that. And then ever since the tumor, I barely can play. I've been playing some Marvel Rivals and little things like that for half an hour here and there each day, a match or two, whenever I can. So what we're looking at with your digital boundaries though is, like I said, you want to establish these for you because you're the example, but then you want to establish them for your kids. It's going to be really hard for you to just, like, I can't just tell you what your boundaries are, right? You're going to need to make them with your kids, and you're going to need to find a happy balance, right? I think no balance, not thinking about it, no conversation is only going to get you so far. And then when you come down on them for something like get your homework done, they are probably going to resent you from taking away from the only thing they know, right? It's going to be weird things like that. Like, they should do their homework, I agree. But the more time on screens and the less time in the real world, the more that can essentially damage their psyche and everything. Not to mention, they're already going to be spending like a lot of their time inside working on screens for most jobs and stuff. I think I loved playing video games as a kid, watching TV as a kid. Then you get into adulthood and you're like, oh man, I'm on a computer for 8 hours a day too when I'm working in a job. Why do I want to go home and look at a screen too? And so, if you think about it, there's just so much time where all that light's blaring us in the face and everything like that. Um, so in today's digital age, yeah, really important. I came from, a generation where essentially computers were a new thing. We had a lot less use for them. We had the TV, but we didn't have streaming. So it was like you watched whatever was on. So we didn't watch as much TV and whatnot. Cartoons were on like Saturday mornings and everything. And so, feeling like an old dad for a minute, but it's definitely something that you need to take seriously. And so I mentioned that you should probably establish screen-free times and zones and limit apps. Now, you can actually go on most of your phones and actually set up limits on the phones. But what I mean by limit times and screen-free times and zones is, it's not a bad idea to say like during this hour chunk or half an hour chunk of dinner time, we're just going to have no screens, no phones, right? That's going to give you a better value of basically having family conversations, seeing how people's days are going. And it's also going to give you that limit away from the phone. It's so small, but that little window maybe is more than you're currently getting now. So just think about that half an hour and an hour every single night, 5 days a week, every day that adds up, or 7 days a week rather, not just school nights. And that's going to add up to quite a bit more time that you and your family get to spend together and get to know what's going on. You can discover more things about what's going on with their lives. You can ask them what kind of games they're playing, everything like that. So definitely something to keep in mind. And then what we also recommend is sometimes screen-free zones, right? So if we're going to go out and do something, yeah, we like to take pictures of everything, but there will be times where we'll just think, this is a good time to just have no phones. We kind of learned our lesson about leaving our phones at home. So we do still bring our phones with us, but we definitely try to limit it. And then in a restaurant, I don't know how you guys all are, but I think a lot of the time everyone will have their phones in their pocket, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, one person takes out their phone, and then everyone else does, right? So trying to maybe say something like that as if we're in a restaurant, let's go ahead and make a deal to just no phones. Or if you want to get your stuff out of your phone real quick and do your texting, and then once we're like actually ordering, then no phones. I mean, you're eating out, right? If you wanted to pay to eat out just to eat out by yourself, why did you bring everyone else and all that? Like, you're out for a family dinner. You're not out to just hang out, eat some food, and look at your phone. You're not going to enjoy it that way, really. Let's think about it. And then let's see here. So, my notes here. So, one big thing is encouraging people to do outdoor activities, reading, sports. Those are all going to help with limiting screen time without even having to limit screen time. You're giving alternate activities, things like puzzles, crafts, anything you can think of that isn't on the screen. It sounds kind of strange because, maybe our parents would have got mad for us playing too much. But going and playing with Legos or a puzzle at this point is going to be probably a lot healthier than doing stuff on your phone. There's going to be some arguments both ways because there are some healthy things you can do on your phone and some apps you can do. But the point is we're trying to eliminate screen time totally so that we're getting rid of the distraction and just that thing in our face all the time, so that we can enjoy the world around us more. Okay, what else do we have? Let's see. Okay, so another thing about screen time is, whenever you're hiding behind a screen, people aren't always who they would be in person, right? Maybe their true self comes out. I'm not 100% sure how that is, but I think people are very much more comfortable when they're online. So you're going to have a lot of kids who in person are going to be okay, but and sometimes they tease each other. Don't get me wrong, kids are not always nice to each other, but then the minute they get online, these guys become lunatics. Like, it's pretty crazy. And so this also will help kind of protect your kids a little bit more from cyberbullying. They won't be in there all the time trying to pick fights with other people. If they have, here's the sad truth: is if there's a kid who has almost no life, but coming home and playing video games all night, and is picked on at school already or something like that, he's probably become like a cyberbully. And you don't really want your kid to be a cyberbully. They're not cool people. They're mean. You probably know a cyberbully if you've been online playing any game. They come in and they just wreck everyone's day and ruin all the fun in playing games. Like, I've straight up gone from enjoying a game to just having to mute somebody because they were just so annoying. They weren't even necessarily bullying me, but sometimes the way they pick on everyone else and everything is just no fun. And so there's no reason to deal with that. Like, you're either paying for these games or maybe you're playing free. This is your time. Like, a cyberbully is not worth it. And so don't create another one. And then if there are some, talk to your kids about it. They may be hiding something from you that you don't even know about. There's a lot of times where they'll be getting bullied by somebody at school and they'll tell you. But then if they're getting bullied by somebody online, they might not because they're having, so many interactions or they're trying to enjoy this or that. So just keep that in mind. Set some rules, expectations, and in the end, they could break those. So it's up to you to kind of make sure you're monitoring them, make sure that you're having open communication with them. One thing I like to do is, it's not that I try to eavesdrop, but our daughter's room is like right next to the stairs, and they're so loud these days. So as I'm walking by, I'll stop for a second just to kind of like, if they're playing a game, just to kind of make sure that I don't hear anything horrible coming out of there, or I'll knock and ask if I can come in, stuff like that. Now, I think it's really good to play games with your kids, do the things that they like to do online. Go to the rooms, go to the Roblox, go to the games. Now, a lot of the time they'll be like, no, I don't want to play with you. So I can understand that. The strategy I would say for an effective parenting strategy of that is go ahead and look for when they're really bored, when they're like, oh, I'm so bored, or I have nothing to do, or none of my friends are around. Go ahead and be their friend. Jump in, play a game with them. It's going to be valuable for both of you. It's going to create bonding time. You're going to learn about the game, and once they get kind of opened up and comfortable, they may not act exactly how they're going to act around your friends, but they're going to act a lot more like how they act around your friends. So you can kind of see how their personality is as well. All right. So that's just a good tidbit about, you know, about some of the different ways to just have a safer digital footprint, set some digital boundaries, good effective parenting strategies on it. We also have on our site a article about cyberbullying and everything. So definitely check out our site, pgttw.com or parentsguideoftheworld.com. We've got a lot of good articles on there. So I'm still working on it. Like I said, the site isn't perfect yet, but we've got some different blog articles, some different places we've been, and everything like that as well. Now, the next thing I wanted to go back into is, if